Are you prepared to transform your well-being? I'm Sanjay Raja. My mission is to challenge our perspectives on food, fitness, and overall health. I own a successful nutrition and fitness business based in Orlando, Florida. And through this experience, I've learned that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. From creating delicious and healthy recipes, to training elite athletes, and even writing the book, The Food Talk. I've accumulated a wealth of knowledge, but here's the exciting part. There's always more to discover. That's why I'm embarking on a journey to connect with leading experts, unveiling the secrets to a happier, healthier life. Together, let's explore innovative ways to enhance our well-being. This is Recipe for Wellness. Welcome back to another episode of our podcast, Recipe for Wellness. We are on episode 6 of season 3. Crazy. It's only February, and February's almost over, right? Crazy times. Yeah, I know. It's coming. It's an interesting journey I've been on being an actor because you get to meet so many interesting people on set. And, as actors, our lives are, we do the job, we meet some cool people, we work with them, and then guess what happens? Typically, we don't get to see them again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I was watching this interview. I forgot who it was, but he's saying, Harrison Ford. They were interviewing Harrison Ford. He's like, yeah, you come into the set, you do your part, you see these people, and you're like, okay, great. You develop this quick bond relationship to really show up on camera. And then guess what happens? It goes away. You go your separate ways. Mm-hmm. But, I am a guy, and all my friends know this, and that is I don't believe in transactional relationships. If I feel the energy, if I feel like there's a really good synergy, that person's going to be in my life for a very long time.
And I'm exactly the same way.
Yeah. So I had the pleasure of meeting our guest here today on set for a movie called Emma's Christmas, which is going to come out in December 2026. Yes. Yes. And he was one of the principal role players in the movie. And I got to play a racist dad who didn't really like him too much,
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. And you know what the funny part is that I had to play that role, but in reality, him and I just vibed right off the bat, just the way we think and our mentality. So without further ado, I welcome to our show Ekandem. I said your name correctly, correct?
Ekandem. That was perfect, actually.
Awesome. Listen, people butcher my name all the time, so I want to be really respectful. All right.
It's fine. If you butchered it, I'll just add it to the list.
There you go. And in addition to him being an actor, he's an entrepreneur. He is an amazing choreographer and dancer. So I like to think I wear many hats, right? And people are like, "How do you do so many things?" And I met this guy. I'm like, I think I'm a little bit lazy compared to this guy. So,
God.
So I can't do your accolades justice enough. So I'm going to let you talk about yourself here a little bit and tell our audience, you do so many things. Share with our audience where you started in your journey and how it branched off into all these millions of things, which I got to know about, but I want the audience to know about because I think you can inspire a lot of people to branch out of the comfort zone.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for that intro. He makes me sound extremely important. Love this guy. So this is why we clicked, right? First of all, like you said, my name is Ekandem Essiet. Mm-hmm. I was born in Canada, raised in Nigeria. My parents were in school, clearly not doing what they were supposed to be doing, but I got here, so that's a good sign. Raised in Nigeria, ended up coming back to Miami. But long story short, while living in Nigeria, I started dancing as a kid, which everyone does when you play music at a family event. And it turns out I was pretty decent at it, right? So when I arrived in Miami, my parents enrolled me in dance with my sister, and so we'll start there. And I just kind of took that and ran with it. At the same time, I was, some people would say, a little smarter than the average bear, I guess. I was pretty young. When I arrived here in Miami, we took a placement exam, and I was about 9 years old. And it turns out that I was supposed to be placed in, I think it was the 12th grade. The problem was the counselor said, you won't fit in with the kids, so we have to put you in 7th grade.
Wow.
Sure, that's cool.
So we had a real life Doogie Howser.
Like Doogie Howser on our hands, right?
Yeah, Doogie Howser's, I guess, smart guy, and
Yeah.
I heard so many different names. I was like, I'm just the guy in the back trying to make it through, like everyone else. I just have the answers, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so while that was happening, I ended up being in this program called the Busy Program, University of Miami. Um, I was about 11 years old, so that's where I guess the smart part comes in. I did that at a pretty young age. So I like to say that I'm not necessarily a smart guy. I just knew a lot for my age. That's how I see it. Because the truth is, when you expose any kids, at the end of the day, kids are a blank slate, right? So whatever information you give them, whatever you expose them to, they tend to absorb it, and they emulate what's around them. So I got lucky enough where I was around great people. My parents were ridiculously good examples. When we didn't have, I didn't know we didn't have, so they made it seem like it was on purpose. So to me, I was like, oh, this is part of the process. Let's make it happen. Did that when I was about 11 at University of Miami. Ended up switching over to Florida National. Graduated at 14, and then I ended up getting a BS in bioeducation, psychology. Got my BA. Went for my MBA in finance. So I pretty much just did a lot of things, but I was really young. So at the time between that and dancing, it was like, what else are you going to do when your life gets started? You can either get a job or start a business, right?
Yeah.
Started the first business with my mom because I wasn't old enough. At about 11, which was the healthcare agency. So, had a ridiculously active role in that, and it just blossomed. And I realized what I was really good at. I was good at two things: people and making money. But yeah, some people have physical talents, which dance is definitely one of those. But I ended up realizing what my niche is, quote unquote. So took that and started some businesses so I can just focus on dance, which is really what I was passionate about, still passionate about until today, and what I focused on. Thankfully, everything kind of went, they just went side by side, and my dance career took off as well. Choreographer on certain films, commercials, tours, TV shows, Broadway shows, choreographed figure skating for a couple of countries, as we just discussed. And needless to say, I'm grateful for this life I have. It started off kind of questionable. Growing up in Nigeria, it wasn't exactly the most ideal situation at the time. Let's just put it that way. I was born in the 80s, so I think we can all understand that it was, different times. But
well, I think, the reason why we hit it off as friends so well on set was I was looking at, once we got to know each other, your parallel track in life to mine, which is very similar, coming over from India and then having some culture shock and trying to figure things out. And then I thought I was doing good because I skipped third grade, but you're in college by the age of 14, 15. So I mean,
well, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. So I didn't know that I was too young until I realized everybody else was older.
But see, that comes up on a really interesting principle, which is, I got certified in leadership development training. And there's one principle called limiting beliefs. That is, society tells us you belong in this box right here, and you're not allowed to go here until you do A, B, and C, right? So what you didn't know was any limiting beliefs. You just were allowed to just go do what you wanted to do and have free reign. And I think that's the type of mentality we as parents, we as, raising the next generation should give our kids is don't tell them when they're ready, just let them go jump and see what happens.
Exactly. And I think in addition to that, it's also choosing when you expose kids to certain things.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten the questions a lot where they'll say, is that something you would do for your kids? Would you put them in, allow them to be in college at 11 years old? And as great as it sounds now at my current age, that wasn't exactly the most ideal situation.
But here's the thing, though. You were ready. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because there's a lot of this stuff coming up recently and talking about Gen Xers. Okay. So being a Gen Xer, we were latchkey kids. We were put to our own devices, meaning we walked home by ourselves. We played outside until it was dark, until the streetlights came. Now, I wouldn't dare do that with my kids. would never do that, right?
We had a level of
Just live in a
independence.
different world. And when we first came to this country, it was me and my sister.
Okay.
We knew British English. We just didn't speak American English. So we had to learn the euphemisms and all that.
See, this is
right?
why we get along. This is exactly why we get along. We raised with British
Right.
English.
Yeah. So I learned that. So what happens, I literally hear people in class go, "You're driving me up the wall." I'd stare at the wall. I'm like, what is he talking about? Right. It was crazy. So you had to learn that. And I speak two dialects of Indian, British English, of course, I know, and then Japanese and French. But I tell you what,
wow.
man,
Okay.
American English was the hardest thing for me to learn.
Because there's so many, the nuances.
There's no rules.
The colors.
There's no rules for the game.
and it changes ever so often.
Generationally, it changes. So
Yeah,
my kids talk this whole language. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. These 3-letter words, and I'm like, speak English. I'm not understanding anything you're saying, right?
At all. So I agree with you. In addition to simple things like colors, I mean, like the spelling of words, it's absurd. I'm like, okay, guys, it's called English.
I know, right? So that being said, you've been so successful at what you've been doing, being an entrepreneur, dancing, of course, and some of the other ventures you've got going out there. I think this generation right now, what we're seeing is that, for example, my daughter and I, we take a walk every evening and we just talk about the day. And that's her free time to be, I'm your friend, I'm not your dad right now. Tell me anything and everything. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to punish you for it. Just open up. And she does it, which is great.
Oh,
and
wow. That's amazing.
It's amazing to me. She's very independent, but what she doesn't have is that she does want to fit into the crowd and not stand out. And that's okay. I don't judge her for that. That's all good. But sometimes other people's opinions of her really cloud her confidence, right? Okay. And so the reason why I bring this up is because you are a perfect example of our generation of going, other people's opinions means nothing to me. It bounces off of me, right? And we're trying to teach this generation, don't worry about people behind a computer screen liking or unliking or making comments about you. It means nothing in the grand scheme of things, right? And at the end of the day, guess what? In this game called life, nobody's getting out alive. Okay.
So we get one of these. I always say we get one of these life things. Do it, live it the best way you can. So it's funny you said that, because I definitely used to try to. At the beginning, I think I tried to fit in and assimilate to not just the culture, but just you want to have the friends around you. You want everyone to like you. You want you're coming from a whole different country, a whole different culture, and you're coming to somewhere that's essentially requires you to fit in that box we're talking about, right? Yeah. Where they're like, hey, you have to fit in here, otherwise you're not going to make it. And then you realize a couple of things about yourself. Whether you're resilient, whether you actually have confidence in your convictions, because that's a major part about that. And as a kid, it's a very tough thing to find out. I think for me, what I realized was that I was able to lean on my strengths. My strengths wasn't necessarily getting everyone to like me, but being able to help everyone and making their life a little bit better. Even as a kid, because I remember, and I'm going to give you this example here, but you have promise not to laugh at me too much, right? So
I can't make that promise.
I went to JFK Middle School in Miami, Florida, and I was 9 years old at the time. And this was my first bullying experience in the United States, right? So yeah. I show up, we have our lunch money, we have everything, and I'm walking towards portables, and these kids come around me. Now in Nigeria, it's one of those things where you don't necessarily just fight for fun; we fight to survive, right? So my mindset's entirely different. So we're coming in, and this kid asked for my lunch money, and I was like, okay, that doesn't really sound like it was a question, but I'm like, are you really that hungry? So again, I'm not realizing what's happening here yet at the time. Because I'm 9 years old. I'm like, oh, they want to be friends. They're around me, but this is just a weird way to be friends. And he comes up and he pats my pockets and tries to take off my book bag and goes in to take the money. And I was like, oh, okay, they're politely robbing me. That's what this is. That's great. This is going to be interesting. Yeah. So then, again, fighting to survive. I'll be honest, I did fight back. I've always been the kind of person that, at the end of the day, I'm going to leave an impression. So the way that I see it, if every time that you come to me, if you realize there's going to be an altercation, you're going to think twice before you do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I'm always going to win, but I was always told as a kid, if you ever get jumped, you pick up you take the smallest person and you make sure that you make a statement, right?
Yeah.
So fast forward a couple of weeks later, after this kept happening, the bullies just come to me and they're like, "Look, this kid, you've got a lot of heart. You want to sit with this at lunch?" And I'm like, "Okay, this is a setup, guys. This is a whole kind of setup." Fast forward, they said that because I wasn't one of those kids who was always running away, and I wasn't busy trying to, evade them or curse them out or respond in kind, so to speak. Like, kids talk about you, you talk back. I was just more like, "Hey, your life sucks. I hope you figure that out." I wasn't even part of that. And he said they didn't even know what to say. They're just like, you're cool. And I'm like, okay, I'm 9 years old. You guys are like 14, 15, because the bullies were people that didn't graduate on time. It's middle school. Why are you here at 14? But whatever. So
yeah.
So needless to say, we still are friends till this day. And one of my closest friends was the first bully that I met when I was 9 years old. Only because I sat there and understood that what people do have no bearing on your life. Their choices they're making for themselves. And even as a kid, I think I realized that. And I was like, how can I help you? You got to the point where I'd be like, hey, let's pull our money together and get better lunch. Let's do this. Let's do that. And that's when I realized my skill was always helping people, even the bullies that were busy taking my lunch money. So I'm saying all that to say that when you're talking about your daughter sometimes fighting with fitting in the box, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with people choosing to be in the box, with them choosing to be in the box. However, if that's not where you fit, then I think our duty is to show them that there is life outside the box, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it absolutely does. And it's so funny. It's like, as I get to know you, I'm learning new things, even as we talk on this podcast. So similar situation. I grew up, got jumped many times, many times, because I was the only one of this skin color at my school in Kansas. We had wheat fields in our backyard at the time, and I would get jumped on a daily basis. And so what happened is I came home crying, and my dad's like, "What are you going to do about it?" So he put me in martial arts, and then I just loved it, took off with it. And then every single time they came after me, it didn't end the way they wanted to end after that. And guess what? They became good friends, right? They became really good friends. One of my closest friends of 36 years, my first martial arts class, he beat the crap out of me. And we beat on each other for years. And now he's one of my closest friends, right? And it works because my daughter, for example, 4 years ago, I teach them martial arts. I teach them self-defense and all that. 4 years ago, she was in a summer camp. And so I get a call from the school. The school's like, "You need to come down here." And I said, "All right," I walk down there. I said, "What happened?" So I see her and I see this other girl crying, right? And I'm like, "Tell me what happened." And they said, "Well, this girl pushed your daughter and your daughter pretty much took her out." I said, "So what's the problem?"
I love that.
What's the problem? She handled the situation. It's what she did. Yeah. And you know what happened? That girl and her became friends in middle school.
They're friends now, aren't they? I figured.
Yeah, they became friends in middle school. She handled her business. And you know what? There was no animosity, no anger. That girl was testing the boundaries. My daughter handled business. And she also developed street cred in school. Nobody messes with her. So that's that. I mean, it sounds like we're going off a tangent, but we're really not, because what it is that once you kind of stand on business in the most authentic manner, right? Guess what happens? You change people's perceptions without doing excessive harm to them, right? So, your audio cut out, my friend.
Sorry. I was saying their initial interaction with you is based off of some perception they formulated. Like, hey, this is the kind of person we think you are. So then it's your duty to either, show them otherwise or prove them right.
Yes. So, and that's the thing about our generation. It's so sad that I'm having this podcast about our generation. So it shows how old we are.
I mean, we're 25. I don't know what you're talking about. But
yeah, I know, right? Exactly. But let's talk about this. And that is, you have done so many things in your life. And I always get this question too when I've done interviews, which is, how did you end up doing all these things that were kind of just connected to each other, right? and then you're living your passion. You're extremely excited about it. So I fell into acting. Okay. I would never mapped it out because in my culture, it was not a real job. Okay. Exactly. It still isn't, by the way. But
Like
anyhow,
literally.
and I tried the engineering thing in school, hated it. I took the MCAT, got into med school, decided not to go. I was like, this is not me. But what I found by doing all these different jobs throughout my career is that I created a sense of self-awareness about what I like and what I don't like. And then once I knew exactly what I wanted to do, guess what happened? The map opened itself up to me.
You went to do
I
it.
knew where to go. I think that's the hardest thing in life for people is not having self-awareness. So I tell my kids, their counselor, in fact, they're in what, ninth grade? Guess what? Their counselor
Okay.
goes, you need to figure out what you want to do. I looked at him and said, no, you don't.
No, you
You're
don't.
going to
Yeah.
try everything.
Like,
Try everything. And then you know what you like, what you don't like. Don't listen to the counselor. And if they come at you, have them talk to me. Okay. So where did you find that moment of self-awareness and how did you get there that this is what I want to do and now this is where I want to branch out? Because the audience doesn't know and you feel free to share what you want. You're doing something really, really big. And the self-awareness journey you've been on has led you to that. So share with our audience
100%.
how you came to that
So,
realization.
so here's the funny thing. Apparently, I realized this when I was a lot younger, but I don't remember it. Thank God for parents. It would always remind you when you do something like that. Um,
Yeah.
my thing was when we were younger, you always have career day, and in career day they
Hmm.
ask you what do you want to be when you grow up. Now I didn't have the answer to that question, but what I did know is that I wanted to own a lot of businesses so I can dance. Now that sounds
Yeah.
like something a child would say, but now, fast forward a couple of decades later, what that means is that I wanted to have, I wanted to have enough stability. I wanted to have
Freedom.
enough doing. I wanted exactly so I can choose to
Yeah.
do what I'm passionate about.
Yep.
Now, is a 6-year-old kid able to say that? Probably not. But that's a simple way of putting it. So long story short, between the business world and dance, obviously I was introduced into entertainment. And when you
Mm.
realize what your strengths are and what you're passionate about, something that you actually just mentioned kind of falls in place. It's an alignment and synergy of energies and ideas, right? That's what happens.
Mm.
Enough people gravitate towards you when they realize that you're of like mind, of like kind, and opportunities will present itself. But
Yep.
like you said, that all starts with self-awareness. Now, when that happened for me, being quite frank with you, honestly, it was when I was in Florida International University. I was in college. I had just finished. We started a dance team there. We started at the time FIU didn't have a football team, so we're part of Panther Power and student government, trying to build, our athletic program, trying to get football to the school, trying to get all these things done. And
Yeah.
as I was getting involved, and I was like, wait, my worlds are colliding because guess what's part of um, the athletic industry? Now we have dancers. Now we have the politics. Now we have the business. Now we have the
Yeah.
performers. So all these things are slowly coming together, and I'm getting phone calls about about different facets of what I'm, quote unquote, well versed in, but for one
Hmm.
unit. So I thought to myself, why not do something like this? Why not create something like this? And that was what led me to first start a production company about over a decade ago. And right now, the venture you're talking about is a TV network. So television
Yeah.
streaming network. What led to that was all my years of choreography, being around celebrities, artists, quite literally everyone from television, film, to commercials, to performances, to politicians, to besides the fact that I'm also in fraternal organizations. I'm member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity
Hmm.
Incorporated, member of service fraternities. There's a Gamma Beta Chi service fraternity, and then I'm also a Freemason, which is a whole different conversation. But needless to say, all these things slowly led to this, where I realized I don't necessarily just need to create for one person. I can instead focus on an opportunity so everyone else's creativity could shine, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Again, my
Oh,
strength is
absolutely.
helping
Yeah.
other people get where they want to be. And for the majority of creatives, the way the world works is creatives generate the revenue and administrators and politicians get to tell us how much we keep. So how do we fuse these worlds together?
Yeah.
And again, that's just an oversimplification of it, but that's how I ended up with pushing towards a television network. And I said, you know what, this is something that I believe will help creatives everywhere and also non-creatives, because for all of us and yourself, again, we met acting. So which is phenomenal, because that means that our stories, whether we knew it or not, are aligned and our conversations just have been falling in kind. So needless to say, here we are having this conversation, and now creatives across the world have an opportunity to place their work besides just the 1% that gets accepted for certain things. It's like, look, guys, we can all do it. It's all based on consistency, growth within your craft, understanding that if this is something you're passionate about, you're willing to put in the work, and you have somewhere to put it. Because I think that's the hardest thing. You're like, I've done this, I've put in all this work. Now, what do I do with it? And that goes for all academics, creatives, anyone in the world that we actually just, touch on that conversation. You put in all this work, you go to school, you do what they're supposed to do. You fit the box, you fit the mold. And for those that don't, you've also put in the work creatively or outside the box. Now what? Which is what you're talking about with your daughter, where they said, so figure out, what do you want to do? You need to know what you want to do. No, it's not your job to know what to do, but it's your job to understand who you are, what your strengths are. Essentially, it's like a personal SWOT analysis, right? That's kind of how we look at it. That's how I explain it. Like, what do you love? What are you good at?
Yeah, I never thought all the different jobs I've taken. It's funny. I'm like, it's a running joke in the family, in my house, and my kids are like, "What career are you on?" I'm like, "Number 56, something." I don't know, right?
And you've thrived in all of them. I don't know if the viewers know this, but Andre is ridiculously successful.
I would say I thrived in all. I would say that I got experiences which I would never get before, and that has added to me being in entertainment, because I can live in other people's shoes. I've been there, right? And so that was the lesson. I mean, I remember being in moments working for corporate America for so long, like 20 years I worked for corporate America. I was making ridiculous amounts of money, and I was married at the time, pulling in, together combined income. Like, we could buy whatever we wanted, go wherever we wanted, do whatever we wanted, right? Good. Guess what? I was unhappy 24 hours a day showing up to that job. That's what I realized out of that. And I would buy stuff I didn't need. I would go to Best Buy when Best Buy was a thing, and basically, I'm going to buy this today. Yeah, I'm going to buy this today.
At least you said Best Buy, not Radio Shack.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. And guess what happens? The minute I bought it, I would be like, I'm done with this. I don't need this anymore. I was filling a void inside myself that couldn't be filled with stuff, right? It was like a black hole. And then what happened is I got the impetus to do a little side hustle in 2011, which was my nutrition fitness company, and to change my health. And people started noticing it. And they said, hey, can you train us? And I did it for free for a little while. I said, okay, let me see if there's a real business here. And then that grew and grew and grew. And then my love for cooking, which I always did in college. Whoever thought that came into play?
Yeah.
Right. And then just learned, and then fell ass backwards into acting in 2014. Right. Never thought this was going to happen. So all these different things led me down this path where I'm enjoying my life. I'm doing what I love. I'm passionate about it. And I get to be a role model to my kids to show them that, you know what, you can follow your passions and make money and do well in life. When we're hearing all these experts going, following your passions, that's ridiculous.
That's childish.
But that's the thing, though. If you're not curious about life, then what are you doing? What are we doing here, right? Got to be curious all the time.
But you literally hit the nail on the head. What you said is that all your experiences, they let you understand who you are, what your skills are, and what you're passionate about. Because a lot of times you're not, like you said, you have to go and do different things, because it's not just going to come to mind. What am I good at? What am I passionate about? What do I hate? What do I love? What do I prefer to do? And the simple fact that you did so many things, that's why you're able to have those conversations. That's why you're able to say, I love doing this. I love doing that. And it's not even just, it's the fact that a lot of stories are relatable to you because you've been through that. And that's why you're able to emulate it. Like, especially as actors, when we come in and they said, okay, we need you to be, I don't know, take yourself to an extremely sad place. And then then the next scene, it flips around and you're like, okay, this is the happiest you've ever been. You're in love today, you know? So,
oh, by the way, you have to cry on cue 4 times at 4 different camera angles, by the way. Just saying.
Exactly. So you're able to do that because you have these experiences to choose from. So sometimes when we're talking to people, life is not just about, you know, checking off a list. Life is about gathering these experiences, right? That's literally what it is. It's a cumulative, it's a culmination of experience. And without that, you have no story to tell. So granted, I love where you, and again, if you guys don't know, Sanjay is a phenomenal actor. Like he came on set and he's just like, yeah, so we're just gonna do this and do that and like just knock it out in like 2 seconds. And he's like, I had to be a racist dad, but the funny thing is, he pulled it off like nothing. And then as soon as they're like cut, he switches it off and he's like, yeah, so guys, what are we talking about right now? Like, I don't think you understand the level of control and expertise it takes to do that. That's not, you know, that's not that easy, just to be clear.
Yeah,
but
well,
that comes from the life
I had our co-star on a podcast before you, Raquel, who played Emma, who, hats off to her, she did a great job, just like you did. And I told her, I said, you know, the emotional scenes that we had to do, because it's a lot of me crying in my Lambo, by the way. It is, right? You know, it is what it is. But you know what happened is it brought up so many emotions after we were done filming. For 3 days, I locked myself in and I cried like a baby for like 3 days to let everything out, because you just harbor it. And it came all out. And then I ended the communications blackout and all my friends are like, you good? I'm like, I'm good now.
I'm good now. And he's like, reset. It's a hard reset. That's what it is. He's like, okay, we're good. We're back.
Yeah.
But
no, you live and breathe these characters. You do. And I took it very personally because a lot of the story was my parents' generation that I could relate to. So part of the reason why I took that role is because the script really resonated. I said, this is true. This makes sense. This does happen. So this transitions over to this part of the story here, which is you being an actor, right?
Okay.
Everybody's journey into acting is so unique. Everybody's heard my journey. I fell into it, right? So share with us your journey into becoming the actor that you are, with some amazing projects you haven't shared with anybody else. And I'm not going to say it unless you want to say it. But share with us how you fell into it. And for those who don't know, let's put it this way. I had scenes with our friend here, E, and I forgot that we were acting at times. I really did. Yeah, I really did. I forgot we were acting because he brought this authenticity. So I knew I had to bring my A game. I knew I had to do it.
Oh.
And they had so much of the script they had to memorize and really bring it to life and stuff like that. So hats off to you for pulling it off and really pushing the movie forward. So talk about that actor's journey, because I think a lot of young actors could benefit from it, number one. And number two, how has it changed you and made you a better businessman, father, person? Because it's changed.
Wow. That's a huge, huge part. That's a really loaded question. Good one, by the way.
I've done this a couple times.
Yeah, you could tell once or twice, maybe, you know, clearly 6 this year, but, no, so I ended up getting into acting just to start off as a dancer, right?
Yeah.
So we've done certain dance films. I'm sure you guys have seen the Step Up films. You've seen some.
Oh yeah, that's you.
You've seen some Sony Art films. Yeah,
I was like, that's you.
But so what ends up happening was that I had just finished doing a German short film as far as being a choreographer, and 2 things happened. I ended up getting into acting and also into choreographing off-Broadway shows from this German short film. It is crazy. Like, the world is just absurd. So I get a phone call that says, hey, I'm shooting this movie and I was on set with you for about 3 months and it is exactly who you are. And I said, okay, so where is this going? What do you mean? I said, that doesn't say anything. So we want you to come in and read for some of our producers. I said, read what? Like, what do you mean? They said, oh, you know, we have this role laid out for you to see what you think and how it fares. And I said, hey, I'm not an actor. I haven't done this before, but I will gladly fly in and try it out. Yeah. So then I go in, we had like a cold read, obviously. And we did that, and we had improv. and it was amazing. So I booked my first I guess support, I'll say supporting cast. It's a principal role, but I'm still supporting cast in the film. And
Yeah.
it turns out after 3 months we get assigned an acting coach, which was Mark Dearso. Shout out to Mark. I absolutely he he made me fall in love with acting even more. He
Yeah.
has a program called Act True, and for 3 months I had to become this character. Never done this before, but it turns out as a dancer, we're actors, models, performers. Sometimes we're singers. We do a
Yeah.
little bit of everything. So we had to tap into that. And he pulled me in. Ended up falling in love with it and having a brand new level of respect for this craft that I don't think people understand. Like what? Because I
Mm.
didn't understand. I have to be quite honest. I didn't understand what it took. I said, "Oh, we just have to read some lines." No, you have to tap into emotions, your stories, make it relatable, make it still make it look effortless, make it casual, and then most importantly, make it true.
Yeah.
And that's where it got tricky. So I fell in love with the process because you get to share stories with people. And majority of the time, like you said, you, if you're able to tap in and relate, you're essentially sharing your stories through another character. So
Hmm.
that's how I got into acting initially. And from there, I started taking acting classes. I started focusing because now I realize something. It wasn't just that I loved doing it, it's that I had a story to tell.
Yeah.
And I think understanding that there is a message that you want to share with the world, you're able to utilize a lot of these characters to share parts of that. Granted, it's not
Yep.
your story per se, but the writers do a good job. You're able to, translate what's on the script into your life and then execute. And you
Yep.
asked how that affected my business. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that the second I started focusing on acting as a craft, business became so much easier to do a couple of things, to talk about, to present,
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
create,
Yep.
to because when you walk into a boardroom, when you walk in, and we talk about from the corporate sector, for example, when you walk into the boardroom, what's the one thing that everyone looks at for in a presentation or a proposal? A lot of people think that it's just the message on the PowerPoint, just the topic you're trying to convey. No, not at all. Not at all. It's your ability to convey a message while making it relatable to everyone in the room because that's how you garner their interest.
Yeah.
And acting, oh my God, that I feel like that opened a brand new world for me because with dancing, for example, we're conveying messages with our bodies, right? So that's one way
Yep.
to say things. So that's nonverbal communication. So understanding that there's a certain mastery with that, and then now you've given me the words to use in addition to that, that honestly, I'd say that if I had to give credit for something that helped my businesses grow to or scale to an entirely different level, I would have to give it to acting. The craft itself, I have to give honor to that because
Yeah.
for example, meeting people like you, the majority of the time we're on set, what did I keep saying? I said, I've learned so much from you guys just watching you with your scenes, just listening to how you speak, understanding how you word certain things, the choices that you make, the way that you practice, the energy that you bring in. Because act as actors, everyone is entirely different, but when we come together to tell one story, it's an extremely powerful thing. So I learned so much from you guys just being around. So first of all, thank you for allowing me to share in your energy while we're on set and doing this project
My
because
pleasure.
I don't take that for
Yeah.
granted. But it,
Yeah.
it definitely helped me scale my business and made me an entirely different entrepreneur when it comes to that.
And that's
So
that's the amazing thing. I share this all the time with my kids and close personal friends about how it's given back to me so much. I didn't expect it, right? I came to it from a different side, and that is I was into public speaking a lot. So I was used to getting on stages but speaking off the cuff and doing very unscripted work, right? And then I got into acting, and then they said, "Okay, this is your script. You can't add to it, right?" And I have a problem with rules. I just do. I just do. But I had to learn to do it, and this was such a great experience for me to memorize 30, 40 pages,
God,
add my layers to it, add my nuances to it. And working with our director, Dallas, who I'll have on the podcast as well, he allowed us creative freedom as long as it fit within the story, which is great. It was awesome in so many levels,
which
right?
is a rarity.
It is a rarity. Yes, yes. So we shared everybody. We became this little family, sharing each other's energy and getting to know each other. And then let me put it this way: for people who have never done it, when you can be on a set and then you have to do an emotional scene where you're like crying or showing anger or showing laughter with a complete stranger for all purposes, right? And then you come out of it going, we just became friends from that scene,
Like,
right?
like
You know?
literally. So I'll for this one, okay, I'll drop something because it comes out later this year anyway. Is that in between October and December, I was lucky enough and blessed enough to do two films. I'd say well September and December. Um,
Nice.
and
Nice.
it's crazy how we had to switch because I came from doing Scary Movie 6, which will be coming out at some point later this year. Which obviously,
Congrats.
as everyone knows,
Yeah.
thank you. Which obviously, as
Yeah.
everyone knows, is kind of essentially a parody. Well, a slew of parodies.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
coming from that kind of energy, and then switching to be Carter Grant in MS Christmas, in which case I am a very bad businessman that just meets this
Which is hilarious.
this
That is
lovely sugar
hilarious.
mama.
You have to play complete opposite of what
Oh
you
my
are
god,
now, which is hilarious.
it
I
is
love
hilarious. I was
it.
dying when I read the script. I was like, you know what? Let's go for it.
Yeah.
So coming from that, I had
Yeah.
about quite literally 5 days in between, and
Yeah.
we had one read, so I had to
Yeah.
switch that next day and just be this guy after coming from being go. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell what role I have yet. Scary movie, but well, whatever. I could say this much. When if you guys happen to see a couple of ghost faces in scary movie, you'll kind of
There you
understand where I'm
go.
coming from. So
There you go.
we talk about nonverbal communication. Those things come in
Yeah.
handy, right?
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
we see that, and then it transitions over into being this guy, that has to happen overnight. So exactly what you're saying is that because we all clicked and we had some kind of chemistry and became a family, it made telling a story so much easier.
It did.
But one thing that I love, I say this, maybe this is an understatement when I say I actually love it, I adore this when it comes to creatives, is that when you put a bunch of talented, passionate creatives in the same space, magic happens.
It does. It
Magic
does.
happens. And
Yeah.
I don't just mean magic that happens on the screen. It happens off the screen. It makes us better people. It makes us learned individuals. And it also teaches us to be adaptable,
Mm.
which
Yeah.
is essentially is probably the most important tool you will ever receive in life besides being a nice person, obviously. Being adaptable because you're going to be constantly in different situations that require you not to be a different person, but to act differently. And I think that's something that a lot of people fight with. Everyone usually goes into a room trying to be themselves, unapologetically themselves. But I don't think people know what that means sometimes. It doesn't mean that you have to compromise who you are, but it means that
Mhm.
certain there's certain parts of you that don't belong in certain rooms. So
Well,
you understand how to be that person.
yeah, you know what was so interesting on this set, which I really enjoyed, and that is on our TV show, Recipe for Wellness. One thing my director and I always said is no egos on set because we bring in guest directors, we bring in guest producers, we have all these different guests coming in. My job is to keep the energy up here and keep driving the show
Okay.
forward. But you know what? The thing is, though, when we have a guest director, like we went to New York last year, and our director couldn't make it, so he got somebody on set. And I told,
Okay.
and she came up to me. She goes, "Hey, can I make a suggestion?" I said, "You're the director. There's no egos here. Just tell me, what do you got?" She said, "Can you do this? Meaning this kind of nuance here because it's unscripted, but you know, there's certain things we have to do camera wise." Yeah,
Makes
absolutely.
sense.
You're running a show. We get it. So
Yeah.
no egos on set is our rule on our show. Whoever we bring in. And what I found was on this set, there was no egos on set, and I
Oh
loved
my
it.
God.
And that just makes the collaboration process that much better for everybody,
That,
right? You know, so
and
you were giving notes to Raquel, our lead actress, and then she was just like, maybe if you do it this way, when you guys were practicing your lines, I was watching it. Maybe if you guys do it,
oh.
yeah, you know, this could be better. And then you and I We're talking about little nuances here and there. We were just all talking because we're all trying to make this story as authentic as possible. And nobody
Exactly.
thought they were better than the other. I didn't know you're running a multi-million dollar company. I had no idea.
And
Right? You know?
and you see how casually those conversations happened at lunch?
Yes.
Guys, we literally we sat down and we're just talking over sandwiches. This is
Yes.
crazy. We're all just talking over sandwiches about not even necessarily about what we do. We're just having organic conversation. Like, how's your day going? What's happening? And
Hmm.
as the story builds and we're learning more of each other, we learn how ridiculously successful and interesting everyone that's a part of this project is. And when I tell you that made us even more in sync, that's crazy. It's like you said, it definitely is an ego thing. So I'm glad you mentioned that there is weren't any egos involved on that project. And I
Yeah.
think it's also the energy you put out is what you receive, because I think very rarely are there projects that I'm involved with where there's anyone with an overbearing ego. Now, granted, I know that does happen. I haven't been exposed to it, or
Didn't
if I
know
am
that.
exposed to it, they keep me away from it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I do know that there are people I've worked with that have enormous egos, but
Yeah.
it's never been directed at me, I guess I should say. But I think
That's
that's
good.
also based on how you carry yourself. Because, for example,
Yeah.
in the manner that we speak, I can't envision anyone coming to you with anything but positivity. And if they do, I think they can tell that they don't belong there
Yeah.
just
No,
because
no.
of how
It
you
was
carry yourself.
100%. We talk about the law of attraction so many times on the show. And season two, we talked about whatever energy you put out comes right back to you, right? You know, and here's one thing, you and I could keep talking forever, by the way. We could do 10 of
Oh,
these
yeah.
and still not get done.
Brother.
But one thing I wanted to bring up, and that is I do a lot of motivational stuff, motivational speaking. I credential people on becoming a coach on it. And we have this thing called the BHAG, which is the big, hairy, audacious goal. That's what we call it, the BHAG, right? And what
Okay.
happens is I've talked to so many people out there about what's your big, hairy, audacious goal for your life, right? When we come into companies and talk to them. And they say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this. And they're pretty interesting. We were sitting there at lunch. This is probably day 3 of us filming. We got to know each other. And for the audience, I'm going to set this up real quick, which is this guy over here. He's just quietly sitting there talking, and then he's talking about what he's been doing. And we all kind of figured, yeah, he's a successful business guy. And he goes, no, I'm going to make $1 billion. That's happening. That's happening. And he said it with so much confidence and just a certainty. I've interviewed, I've talked to so many people in leadership development coaching. Nobody's ever said something like that with such calm confidence that I was like, you sold me. I get it. You're gonna do it. I know you're gonna do it. I mean, I got it. And we all at the table, we had production crew, we had actors, and we're like, oh yeah, we can see that. That's definitely gonna happen. Right?
Oh,
Right. And so the reason why I bring that up is that you being unapologetic, but not in a conceited manner about your goals, your vision, your dream, what it does is it attracts people to it to help you. Not that you need it, but you always want to collaborate with people with like-minded, right?
exactly.
And so I think for the audience, it's that if they're not so crazy that you'd be like, people will be like, oh my God, that's amazing, then your goals aren't big enough.
100%. 100%. Like, when it comes down to your goals, I think people only tend to make goals, not only, but the majority of people tend to make goals that they feel is within their grasp.
Yeah.
Especially when you ask them to speak on it. For me personally, I don't believe that there's anything that I can't do. I believe there are things that I cannot do yet. But
Right.
if I want to, I can work at it and then eventually get it. So when I talk about my goals, I put timelines on them, which I think everyone should do, because when you just have goals just randomly up in the air, it's just like, oh, I want to be great on, whenever it happens. Like, that's crazy. So I try to be very specific with my goals. Before, I used to say I wanted to make $1,023, down to the point where I had shirts. I wish I had one of the shirts with me right now. I had shirts that said hashtag #mill23, and this was in like 2000, maybe 2001, or
Yeah.
but I wanted to have $1,023,000, all bills paid, all businesses paid, just sitting in my account doing nothing. That means worst case scenario, everything's done and it just sits there. So that was the goal. But what's the timeline of that? And I said I wanted to have that within 13 months. So I'm like, okay, you have 13 months, figure this out. So now you're able to create a game plan. For me, the billion was by a certain age, which I was like, you know what, I want it by 50. Then I said I want it by 45. Now, I'm 42. That means I have 3 years to knock this out. So what that means is that you're now making billion-dollar decisions versus arbitrary decisions that might get you $1 billion, because you're forced to plan when there's a timeline involved. If I told you that you need $2,000 between now and tomorrow, you're forced between now and, let's say, 8 a.m. tomorrow. Now you're like, how many hours do I have? What do I need to do within this amount of hours? So it's easier to plan when there's a timeline involved. And speaking with conviction, I don't think I've understood that there's any other way to speak, because I've run into some people and they're like, you always speak like you have the answers. I'm like, no, you're getting it absolutely wrong. I speak like I can get the answers. Even if I don't know it, I know that I can find it. And there is absolutely nothing that comes out of my mouth that I don't believe, which is, again, this one I do have to say that came from me also being a kid amongst a whole bunch of adults. In which case that,
well, I mean, you don't have, it comes back to the original point, which is you don't have limiting beliefs holding you back, telling you that you can't do this, you can't be this, you can't do any of this stuff. You don't have those beliefs within you. This is the reason why my tribe resonates with me in similar values, is that we all believe we can do whatever we want to do. Life is 90% of what happens to you and how you react to it, right? And how am I going to react to this, right? So many things out of our control. And we talked about it. Life happens for you, not to you. When you take that mindset, you really can accomplish anything you want to do. But I just think that your story just resonates on so many levels. And I just think that the audience and the world need to know kind of, hey, humble beginnings to self-awareness, to building a brand, to creating this amazing platform to help artists out, which I'm very passionate about doing as well. So I think that's where it is. Yeah.
And honestly, thank you for even allowing me to tell that story. And the truth is, occasionally there's times in life where you'll run into people like yourself, where you automatically realize that there's synergy and alignment within their characters, their story, their history. Like, it's very rarely that we have conversations, and then we're not like, oh my God, I had the same thing. And then you're talking, and I'm like, wait, that's crazy. That happened to me too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the core of who we are. Not what we have. People always say good things happen to good people, right? I genuinely believe that, as long as good people are intent on helping good people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because,
I believe that.
You can't just exist. And I think everything, like you said, does happen for a reason. We met for a reason. There was a purpose behind it. And just the simple fact that we're in alignment in terms of our core values and our goals, which is an entirely different thing, our goal mindset. I can't wait to see where this takes us, because guys, whether he told you or not, I'm like, Sanjay is along for a ride. He's stuck with me for a while now. He has a friend for life. So at the end of the day, it is, wherever I go, whatever I have, it's yours. So
I'll leave it at this. And that is, I worked in corporate America. I know you did. And then you and I both got in entertainment. And I can tell you without any hesitation, the people and the relationships I've met in entertainment are the most genuine ones I've ever had.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I worked in the medical field. I worked in the business field. I worked in IT. I did in the athletic field. I can tell you right now, the most authentic relationships are the ones I forged in the entertainment industry.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing, because we are in a business that we're not the top 10%. We're not the Brad Pitts of the world. There is an 80 to 90% unemployment rate. And we're following our passion to do something that has no guarantee of success. Zero, right? But we do it anyways because we love it. And you meet the most authentic people in the world. And I look at them going, I love this. Yeah. You need to be surrounded by these kind of people, right? So you and I are a little bit
different. My God.
A little bit different, because what we said was, let's create our own opportunities and let those opportunities now create opportunities for others.
There we go.
Right? You and I are very much aligned in that. So that being said, we could keep going forever, but there is a time.
Yeah. There's a timeline.
That being said, This is the section of our program where it's the shameless plug, where I want you to talk about how our audience can connect with you, tell our audience where you're at, what you're doing, because there's so many things you're doing. It's amazing.
Okay,
And where
so
they can find you on the web and what's the next big thing for you. Because I want them to be able to make sure and get inspired by what you're doing. That's why we brought you on the show. Not only because you're a good guy, but because your life and your journey can resonate with so many people.
no, thank you so much. And I know you said shameless plug, but this might be a shameful plug. So what we're gonna do is first things first. We're talking about the television network, which is a streaming platform. It's called BNW Television. The rollout will be later this year. We're looking at March 2026. So you guys make sure that you go to www.bnwtv, bnwent.tv. So www.bnwent.tv. Now, for any of the apps, it's BNW Television. Guys, this is literally called the Creative Network. It's the culmination of everything creatives. We have independent filmmakers, we have regular filmmakers, we have music videos, we have podcasts, we have television shows, we have reality shows, it's essentially the creative hub of the world. So if you have an idea, if it resonates, if it reads, if it's been worked on and it's at a certain level, there is a place for you. So that to me was always my dream, because when we're talking about the goals you want to leave with your life in general, is to impact as many people positively as I can before it's time to go. At the end of the day, there's two things that's guaranteed, taxes and death. So look, so here we are. Before I go, I want to make sure that everybody has that, right? In terms of choreography, I can't say the name of this film, but there's another film that I'm going to be working on this year. Not even an actor, as a choreographer. There are two more as an actor. One of them, Sanjay, is stuck with me on. So,
yeah.
So we're doing that as well. In terms of choreography, I did work on America's Got Talent a couple of years ago. So right now I'm trying to see where that goes. Be able to renew those contracts. Fingers crossed when we send those in.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we have the figure skating. I do coach well, I could say it at this point. By the time this airs, it's not the Olympics anymore, so we can talk about it. So
there you go.
So I do work with the British Federation and coaching one of the British teams. We're looking to work towards 2030 for the next Olympic season, and we're building on that. So that's going to be something absolutely major. We also have other businesses. We have schools in Nigeria. If you want to look at Monef Kiddie School, MONEF Kiddie Schools. So we have the Monef Kiddie School, which is our primary secondary, and we have our high school, which is Monef High School. So altogether, it's monefschools.com. You guys want to check that out. That's Nigeria. We also have a Monef Clinic, which is also in Nigeria. We have a water distribution company. So long story short, there's a couple of things I can talk about, but at the end of the day, would absolutely love your support. If you get an urge to, I don't say Google me because that sounds horrible, but hopefully Sanjay has my name written here at some point, and you're able to follow me on Instagram. Myself and my other 7 followers will appreciate you. It's at E_BNWENT, which I'm sure at some point you'll see. And guys, if you have any ideas, creative or otherwise, if you need any help whatsoever, it's not about what you can pay for. It's understanding there's people out there that are looking to help. And at the end of the day, I do wake up every morning trying to see who else in this world I can assist in some way, shape, or form. So if you have any idea, if you want any assistance, whether it's business, whether it's just personal, feel free to reach out. I'm here. I'm always glad to be a resource. And I believe Sanjay is as well. So at the end of the day, if you're watching this, you have 2 new friends and 2 new advocates in the world. Yeah. So here's hoping you use them.
Yeah, no. We're gonna put your websites once we edit the podcast, so everybody can connect with you. We're gonna put your companies on our website, the show website, so people can connect with you there. So everybody, I just think that this conversation, I always tell people this is a podcast without rules, because I never go into it going, this is what we're going to talk about. These are our guideposts, because I don't like that. Right. So it took some twists and turns, but I loved it because I think we need more inspiration right now. And I think inspiring people with your journey, I know so many people can relate to it, about not 100%. Believing what society tells us and programming us to say, you are this person. is so important right now to do great things, right?
Yep.
So
So,
that being
so
said, please go
but
ahead.
before you close out, can I say this?
Yeah,
So
please.
there is one thing that I did want to say, because I totally love that you mentioned it earlier, but I didn't touch on it, was that understand I was raised in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Now in Nigeria, you're either a doctor, a lawyer, an
Sounds like India.
engineer.
Sounds like India.
Yep. Like we're very title driven is how I put it, right? So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, understand that it doesn't matter who people tell you you're supposed to be. Understand that you can be successful within the scope of what you want to be. And I love that Sanjay touched on that, because will it take some work? Yes.
Oh,
Life isn't meant to be easy. It's meant to be lived. So at the end of the day, figure out how you choose to do that and put in the work for it. That's why I love the fact that, you know, these podcasts like this exist, that you're doing this to give people opportunities to see, you know, to relate to certain people that might have stories similar to theirs, or might have done things that they want to do, and figure out exactly how they want to navigate it. But in addition to that, understanding these are people that you can utilize as a resource to get where you believe you're supposed to be versus where people have told you should be. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure I said that.
Well, the underlying thing with you, and I think a lot of our guests that we have on the show, is that you can listen to a million podcasts, a million motivational speakers, a million memes, but it comes down to one thing: action. Just go do it. Fail often, fail forward, learn from it, go from it, and just keep pushing forward. And I think my biggest responsibility right now is, as a dad and your father, and there's so many people who are parents, is that we have to show our kids that failure is part of the process. That's what it is. They've seen me. They've seen me go, that didn't work. Okay, I'm going to try this. That didn't work. I'm going to try this now. I just keep doing it. I just keep doing it. I just keep doing it. I mean, 3 years ago, you and I shared a little about this. 3 years ago, I wasn't in a great place in my life at all. I was in a horrible spot in my life. But you know what? They never saw it. All they knew was that, oh, we're going to be moving here now? Okay, good. Oh, okay. We get to go do this now? Oh, we're going to visit X amount of countries every year? Oh, this is my job to keep pushing forward. But they kept watching it. They kept seeing it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. Kids learn from what you do, not what you say. They hear what you say. Occasionally they'll listen, but they will emulate what you do.
Yeah, it's action. So it comes down to action.
Yeah.
I never sat by and said, oh, life is being cruel and unkind. No, I just took it in, processed it, and then we took a step forward. And I think you're doing that with all these different charitable organizations you have. So that's great. And the common denominator for every guest we have on the show is one thing: action. They took action. That's what they did.
100%. 100%. Took action, going to continue to do so. And hopefully you guys are along for the ride, you know?
There you go. That being said, folks, thank you for joining us for this episode of our podcast. This episode will air about a week from today. So can't wait to air this episode. We're going to edit it, make it all pretty, and make sure that all his websites are there so you can connect with him. He'll be on our website, which is myrecipeforwellness.com. And for those who don't know, we are in post-production for season 2, which will air on PBS from May through September. Excited.
Congrats.
And pre-production for season 3. We got some pretty audacious goals on this one, heading off to some exotic locations and talking about things that people really want to know about and hear about. And moreover, tune into our podcast wherever you find your podcast channels, iTunes, Amazon. We're on all the major podcasts. But I want to thank our guest again, E, for being an inspiration, doing what he's doing, helping artists and creatives find a home, find a platform, and just helping the world out and making a better place. So we thank you for your time.
No, thank you so much. And thank you for allowing me to highlight these moments. And this is definitely one of those highlights of my life, getting to share with people that are of your caliber. So thank you.
Absolutely. So you have access to this man. He's a busy guy. So reach out and make sure that you tap into this knowledge, because I have learned so much in the short time I've gotten to know him, and I absorb everything we talk about. So, all right, folks, thank you again. And can't wait to see you guys for the next episode.
All right. Take care, guys. Definitely a pleasure.